But let's not forget, you guys. I know that he got KO'd in the first round against Charles Oliveira. It was not a good showing. And I don't understand the odds making, how it is even possible that this happened. But Beneil Dariush was a favorite against Charles Oliveira.
Guys, we're in the dog days of the NFL season now, and Inside Fighting has partnered up with DraftKings, an official partner of the NFL, to bring you guys an awesome deal where if you are a new DraftKings customer, you can bet $5 of your own money, you get $150 of bonus bets instantly. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry about it. You can still get in on all the fun by doing DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports, which I do all the time, and I love it. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers who use promo code Inside Fighting bet $5, and you get $150 of bonus bets instantly.
How you doing, fight fans? It's Timmy Shoes with Inside Fighting, joined once again by our editor-in-chief, Jesse Rowe. We've got a slate of amazing fights this weekend. We've got boxing, we've got UFC. Jesse, how you doing?
Doing great. Really excited about this UFC Austin card. It's pretty unbelievable how stacked of a card this is, and it's not a pay-per-view. Also, our good friend Ryan Garcia is fighting this weekend, so there's a lot to talk about. Very excited. Let's do it.
Right, it's the return of the king. King Ryan is back. He is fighting Oscar Duarte, and unsurprisingly, he is a pretty heavy favorite, minus 425. Duarte is a plus 300. Now, King Ryan Garcia, he's coming off of his only loss in boxing, against Tank Davis, that TKO from the liver shot. And Duarte, he's on an 11-fight win streak. He's only got one loss as well and one draw. So obviously Garcia is a very heavy favorite, but Jesse, what do you make of this fight?
I think it's a good challenge for Ryan. I think it's a bounce back fight that he needs. Obviously Oscar Duarte is not a household name by any means. He's a golden boy fighter. So this is a
more known in Mexico.
Right. So, but I believe this is a pretty solid win for Ryan. And I'm looking at minus 145 for KO, TKO, DQ. I think that's like the only play I like. Going the distance is interesting, but at plus 165. But they obviously, Vegas sees it as minus 220 to not go the distance. That says to me that they are expecting a knockout here. And I think that makes sense. I think that Ryan he's moving up to 140 for this fight. Obviously, he fought Tank at a catch weight. But normally he was fighting at 135 before that. He's moving up to 140. He was already big for 135. He was already very tall for 135. He's still tall for 140. I still think he has a size advantage here. And I like minus 145 KO, TKO. I think that's how I would bet it.
Yeah, I think if you're going to bet on this fight, unless you're putting a ton of money on the money line for Garcia to win, I think putting him to win by KO at minus 145 is a good way to recoup some of that value, because obviously I think Ryan Garcia is going to win that fight. Now, UFC Austin, you look at this card, and you said it before we started recording, but if they threw in a championship fight, this is practically a pay-per-view card. There are so many good fights.
It's unreal.
We're only going to do a couple, because I mean, there's so many good fights. You could look at former flyweight champion Deiveson Figueiredo. He is finally making his bantamweight debut. There were some talks in the summer that he might be doing this against Dominic Cruz, but now he's doing it against Rob Font. Now, Font, he's coming off his loss against Corey Sandhagen, and Figgy hasn't fought anyone not named Brandon Moreno since 2020. Okay, his last 4 fights have been Brandon Moreno, so he's finally getting someone new, and it's Rob Font, who is a minus 148 favorite. Figgy is a plus 124 underdog. Jesse, give us your thoughts.
Man, this is a high value underdog for the ages here. I mean, it's not like incredible odds, but Figgy's a champion. Figgy is, he is high level. And Rob Font, very good fighter. And I know that he has a lot of power for 135. He definitely does. He knocked out Adrian Yanez. I'm looking at the odds like, I mean, Timmy, plus 124. It's not like that crazy odds, but I like it a lot. I like Figgy a lot. I think Rob Font's a good fighter, but I think Figgy just has like a pretty complete game.
Yeah.
And I think there's like a lot of ways that he can win. He is kind of small. And I'm curious to see how he's going to look next to Font. I know he had some difficulties making weight for 125, so he was obviously big for 125, but he's kind of like average size for 135 a little bit. So I'm interested to see how that plays out, but I think Figgy's just a more complete fighter. Maybe I'm holding him to a high regard. He looked like shit in his last fight against Brandon Moreno, but I think the weight cut really affected him. So I still give it Figgy.
Yeah, he's been talking about moving up for a while. He's finally doing it. And I think you bring up good points, but there's so many unknowns about this fight, right? Because part of what made him so successful at flyweight was that he had so much more power compared to the other guys. Is that power going to translate at bantamweight? We don't know.
Right.
Or, is his grappling is his cardio gonna improve because he's not cutting as much? Or is having the extra water gonna,
weigh him
is
down
it gonna slow him down?
Yeah.
So there's so many X factors that I really don't know how to pick this. I think
he does.
I think Rob Font, if you look at the guys, he's 2-3 in his last 5, right? If you look at the guys he's lost to, it was Cheeto Vera, it was Corey Sandhagen, and Jose Aldo. He's not losing to bums. Rob Font has really good boxing as well. You could probably say, and here's the difference. Rob Font has a lot more power compared to a guy than Brandon Moreno. Brandon Moreno has good boxing, but I don't think he's not a specialist in boxing the way Rob Font is. Like Rob Font is really known for his boxing. So if I had to pick this fight, I would lean towards Rob Font, but I don't want to pick. I would say don't bet on this fight just because we don't know about Figgy. It could be that Figgy is the world beater that he was at flyweight, at bantam, and he goes on a tear here. That's a possibility, but I want to see how this fight plays out. I want to see bantamweight Figgy before I start betting on bantamweight Figgy. So moving on, we got Jalin Turner, the Tarantula. He's taking on Bobby Green, who's stepping up after Dan Hooker had to pull out. That Dan Hooker was going to be rematching Jalin Turner. And wait.
No. Dan Hooker was going to fight Bobby Green. Yeah.
Dan Hooker was going to fight Bobby Green.
Right.
Sorry. And now Jalin Turner is fighting Bobby Green. We've interviewed both these guys. They're both really cool dudes. It's an amazing fight. Jalin Turner is a -218 favorite, and Bobby Green is a +180 underdog. Jesse, what do you make of the fight?
I love Bobby Green. What he did against Grant Dawson was totally unexpected. It was awesome. I mean, one of my favorite moments of the year so far in MMA. I mean, that was such an unexpected thing. First round, like first minute knockout of Grant, like for 34 seconds or something like that. He knocked him out. It was unbelievable. I would bet the house on Jalin Turner in this fight. Now, here's the thing. I might take that back. He's coming off of like basically no camp. He's taking this on like 2 weeks notice or maybe less. I don't know the exact time frame here. But I just think that Jalin Turner is on a different level than Bobby Green. And I also think he's also so much younger. Bobby Green is
much younger.
Talked about retiring like recently. And we're talking about a guy like in his late 30s.
Bobby is close to 40, I think. I think 38.
Jalin is literally going to he will be in a title eliminator fight in the next couple of years. He already has been fighting up against guys like Gamrot fighting for the title, who's trying to fight for the title, against guys like who did he just Dan Hooker, who has been in title eliminators before. I mean, we're talking about big names. And by the way, in both those fights, you and I agree, Jalin Turner should have beat Mateusz Gamrot. And he also probably should have beat Dan Hooker. I think that Dan Hooker did win that fight, but Jalin Turner absolutely cracked Dan Hooker with a head kick in that fight that should have knocked him out. I don't know how he survived that, but I almost feel bad for Turner that he didn't win that fight. I mean, it was unreal. And I think that Jalen's just on a higher level striking wise, speed wise, power wise. His size is insane for the division. I think Jalin Turner we could be seeing a real knockout in this fight, like a real knockout.
I think you hit the nail on the head, and you even brought up the one thing that's going against Jalin in this fight, in that he's taking it on short notice. But I really think that Jalin does everything a little bit better than Bobby Green. I think this fight is going to be mostly contested on the feet. But even if it goes to the ground, Jalin Turner has a very good ground game. And, he's very long. He's longer than Bobby Green. Bobby Green keeps his hands down. I really just envision a situation where Turner is knocking him out. Maybe not a one knockout, but sort of, piecing together a six-piece combination and getting the fight done. All right, so moving on. We've got the main event, and man, this is a really good fight. Beneil Dariush versus Arman Tsarukyan. These are two guys at the top of the lightweight division. Benny, he's coming off of his loss to Charles Oliveira, but before that, he was on an 8-fight win streak. A lot of people thought that he was going to be the guy who was going to fight Islam Makhachev next. And Arman Tsarukyan, I think he's only 26 or 27 years old. Everyone envisions him fighting for the title soon, and he's so good. People have he's had some trouble finding a fight lately, and so he finally got a really good fight. This is the fight he's been asking for a long time. Not Benny specifically, but a guy at the top of the division. Beneil Dariush is a plus 225 underdog, and Arman Tsarukyan is a minus 278 favorite. And I was a little bit surprised. You were, I think, a bit surprised. But go on.
I mean, look, Tsarukyan is an absolute stud, and if he wins this fight, he will be. I think Islam wants to fight a guy like Tsarukyan for the title, so I don't think it would be that unrealistic that he would. I don't know how much that sells, but it's still a damn good fight.
Yeah.
But
they did fight once.
Beneil Dariush at a plus 225 is high value gold. I mean, it's literally like, this guy is one of the best grapplers in the division. And he also, it's not the prettiest striking, but he has a couple of the most impressive, like knockdowns, whatever you want to call it, in MMA and in UFC highlights over the past few years. He has one incredible knockdown of Gamrot that went viral. That's one, the spinning back fist knockout is pretty incredible. But let's not forget, you guys, I know that he got KO'd in the first round against Charles Oliveira. It was not a good showing. And I don't understand the odds making, how it is even possible that this happened. But Beneil Dariush was a favorite against Charles Oliveira up in Vancouver. He was a favorite. So they thought that he was going to beat Charles Oliveira, who is one of the best lightweights of all time. I don't know how that was the case. I remember talking about this at the time. Like, this is crazy that Oliveira was an underdog in that fight. But that just goes to show how good Beneil Dariush is. And at a plus 225, I'm having trouble turning those odds down. I'm having a lot of trouble with it because Arman Tsarukyan is still pretty young. And at plus 225, this is Beneil Dariush's last chance, I think, to make a title run here. I mean, he's getting to be, look at his face. I mean, he's long in the tooth. He's got gray hairs all over him, like myself. This is it for Beneil Dariush. Plus 225. I love those odds, Timmy. I'm taking Beneil. I think he's going to get it done. I think Arman Tsarukyan has years to win a championship. Yep. This is Beneil. I think this is Beneil's last chance. I think he gets it done.
Listen, Benny's got that dog in him. You said the striking's not that pretty, but he does not give up on himself. And there's no shame in losing to Charles Oliveira or getting finished by him, because Charles Oliveira has finished his last 11 out of 12 fights. Actually, I guess it's 10 out of 12 because Tony didn't tap. But yeah, plus 225 is crazy for Benny, especially considering his fight with Mateusz Gamrot, because Mateusz is going to have a similar approach that Arman's going to have, right? They're going to go for the takedowns. They shoot a lot of takedowns. They want the fight to get on the ground. And Benny handled that very well, right? And I think Benny's going to have an advantage on the feet. So, yeah, minus 278 for Tsarukyan. Like, I understand he's younger. And
he's very good.
The odds,
he's
maybe
very
the odds
good.
makers are mad because they had Oliveira as the underdog, and then he
Right.
crushed him. And they're trying to recoup so they're just mad at Dariush.
They're recouping their losses on the on the line on this. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's just incredible value for Dariush. That's not to say that Tsarukyan can't win this fight, because I think he can. I think he can hurt Benny on the feet, just because Dariush does give his opponents openings, and Tsarukyan can find those openings, and Tsarukyan is a very good wrestler, and I think he's starting to put it all together. But
he's great.
He's
great.
Big props to Benny for taking this fight, because no one wanted to fight Arman. I think I just see Dariush. It's not even like if I was gonna look at this fight objectively and not bet on it, I would necessarily pick Dariush. But Dariush at plus 225 against a young guy like that, you just got to take that risk, right?